Good afternoon. Welcome back to United TV. Latest Manchester United news, latest Manchester United transfer news. A lot of the news this morning is surrounding Alex Scott and Alex Scott rejecting second contract offer from Bournemouth. It appears that Alex Scott has told Bournemouth he has no intention of signing a contract extension with them. So this is why people are starting to get excited, starting to think that maybe Alex Scott is going to force his way out of Bournemouth. It looks like Bournemouth want to do exactly the same they did with Semenyo. They want to put a new contract on the table that gives Alex Scott a big pay rise, but then allows him to choose where he goes in a year's time and put a release clause in there that's going to be sensible, I think. A bit like Semenyo's release clause was not too bad. But it seems that Bournemouth are desperate to keep Alex Scott for another year. So if you're watching live, then you get a chance to decide, where is Alex Scott going to play football next season? Could it be Bournemouth? Could it be Manchester United? Chelsea are interested as well. Arsenal are interested as well. So we have seen that some surprising deals happen. I think as soon as Chelsea spend 117 on Rodgers, anything is possible. So some of these deals that are Arsenal going to spend big on Alex Scott? Are Manchester United going to spend big on Alex Scott? There is also another angle regarding Manchester United that potentially they might have to sell players. I don't know if that's true or not. But Fabrizio's been all over this, and it's probably one of the sources we can quote and go through what he's been saying as well. But before we jump into that, and welcome in the live chat, if you've got some comments and questions and thoughts on this one as well, then get them in. At the moment, I'm going to go for a vote and say, please just vote on what you think, and then maybe 2/3 of the way through the stream, we'll close the vote, see what people are thinking as well. Also, if you're watching live and you're able to share the stream across any platform, that'll really help. And click the like as well. But the main thing is, if you're watching live, you can interact, say what you're thinking. If you're watching on a replay, then just leave a comment which team you think he's going to go to. If you think he's going to stay at Bournemouth, maybe Bournemouth will probably put a third offer on the table, I'm sure. Bournemouth are not going to give up on this one either. So one thing I want to do is I'm going to read the statement, pretty much what Fabrizio said. And this is the stance from Bournemouth, is that new contract, is it going to happen? What's going to happen next? So Alex Scott has pretty much flatly refused the new contract that was offered. And this is, I don't know if this is breaking news or something that Fabrizio reported today. And so the message from Bournemouth was, play with us for another season. In the summer of 2027, a year's time, you can choose where you want to play. There will be a release clause, exactly the same situation with Semenyo. And Bournemouth's stance on this is, Bournemouth are saying that Alex Scott is untouchable. So they're saying that the player is not for sale. They still keep saying this. He's an untouchable member of the squad. They want him to play with Bournemouth next season. They want him to have a season of European football with Bournemouth. Obviously, I think we saw what happened with Crystal Palace, and we've seen with Aston Villa that Premier League clubs in Europe have got a very good chance of going significant distance, even Nottingham Forest in a relegation fight, and Spurs also a relegation fight team that won the Europa League. So there's a lot of precedence to say that Bournemouth could do quite well in Europe, and they want to keep the best players to try and maximise their chance. And it might be their only chance in Europe, who knows? And with Areola leaving, I can see why they want to sell him. But the question is going to be, is if Alex Scott keeps refusing to sign a new contract, at some point there might be movement. So in terms of Fabrizio, and this is why we got the poll, he's saying the player's appreciated by Chelsea, he's appreciated by Arsenal, he's appreciated by Manchester United. I mean, it looks like he's appreciated by Bournemouth and they want to keep him there. And so at the moment, he thinks there's going to be some movement. No one knows what's going to happen at the moment. Bournemouth keeps saying the same position. What's going to happen next? I think that this is probably something that people are going to guess about, but we're looking at the story. Is there a chance Man United could get Alex Scott? And if so, should Man United be spending big money on Alex Scott? Is he someone that you would be going, right, let's get him for whatever it costs? I mean, I'll go into the chat and see what people are thinking as well. So I'll try and catch up. If you want to just repost things, I'll go through the comments as we're there. And so Bournemouth are in Europe this year, exactly, Stephanie. This is why I think Bournemouth are desperate to keep hold of the player. So in terms of the situation at the moment, Bournemouth definitely want to keep hold of him and say, Also, yeah, I've kind of lost track who the new manager was going to be as well. So it's I think the question mark also is Areola leaving. Is he going to take Alex Scott with him? I mean, hopefully not. Hopefully not. But I don't think they're in the mix at the moment. It seems to be other clubs that are being talked about at the moment. Corinne, welcome to the chat. He says some prominent journalist mentioned Scott has links to Manchester and friends, and it might be that his stepsister plays for the Manchester United women's team. So there's probably a bit regarding this as well. And there is rumours that he wants to move that way as well. I think a lot of maybe Arsenal and Chelsea fans are hoping he wants to stay staff, but we'll have to see. It might have been Andy Mitten because that seems something that Corinne. I think I might have seen something similar regarding that. So it might be that again. There's going to be a few reasons, isn't there? I think Manchester United can certainly offer first team football. It's something that you'd imagine Arsenal would be looking at as well. They should be able to offer. I guess you've got better options already in midfield at Arsenal. I think with Chelsea, I'm not sure why he'd want to move to Chelsea when you unless there's going to be a high profile exit from Chelsea. No Champions League football, a team that's been a bit struggling. I know they seem to be throwing money at it, but it feels like at Chelsea there probably will be some exits as well. So it looks like Chelsea are trying to buy their way back into the Champions League as soon as possible. But I think at the moment, I think Man United would be a better option than Chelsea. I can't say we're a better option than Arsenal, but again, it depends on what Scott's ambition is and whether he wants to join Arsenal because they're in a title race or whether he wants to join a bigger club like Manchester United. And yeah, there is definitely a bit of talk regarding, say, non-football reasons possibly with that one, that why he might be considering that as well. I mean, obviously, it goes without saying that Manchester United will need to spend quite a lot of money to get Alex Scott. I don't know if he's going to be the sort of Matheus Fernandes price, but certainly the difference could be that he's not willing to sign a new contract, and that will, if it gets towards the end of the window, that will possibly push down his value a little bit as well, because they're not going to want him to go through to the final year of his contract for sure as well. Good morning to you, Salia. You're saying, I hope we get Scott. However, with our cheap nature, we may end up losing again. I wouldn't really worry too much about the resale value. I think when Man United are signing players, I think the resale value is definitely something that I suppose people look at and think maybe with Man City, they sell players when they're sort of 28, 29 and get money from them. I think with Manchester United that we're pretty poor at selling players anyway. So I think with this one that if you're looking at buying a player that's going to be 23, 24, I would say even like Kone, if Kone comes in, it's kind of like 25, 26, then you could still get some money from him. But again, it depends what sort of contract you put them on as well. So in terms of the age, I think if we're looking at someone like Anderson going to City on 300k, possibly that sort of deal, then if you put a player on 300k, you can have a difficulty selling him anyway. But no, I do agree that for me, I think with this one as well, the difference between Kone and Scott could be that Scott's actually got more room to improve as well. He's a slightly younger player. You'd say that on the back of like a solid Premier League season, he's got maybe more room to improve. I wouldn't say he's necessarily got a higher ceiling than other targets, but he has got a lot of room to improve. And that's going to be reflected in the price, isn't it? I think if you buy a younger player, then they're certainly going to go. They're going to be more expensive, but you have to kind of you know look at it in terms of where it lies with the salaries as well. So the total deal. Good morning to you, everything Carpy as well. You're saying, will Manchester United? So for some reason the comments are taking a bit of time to put on the screen. Will Manchester United pay 80 to 85 million? Say Arsenal, Chelsea, City would. I mean, City, I don't think he's on their list, but I think with Chelsea has spent a fortune on Rodgers. Can Chelsea afford to do this sort of deal? They probably can. I think that are Man United able to make this sort of deal? They are saying that they need to sell a player first. I don't really believe that's true. I mean, Manchester United at the moment, I think we got a net spend of about 40, 45 million in this transfer window, so almost nothing. We spent nothing in January either. We've got high profile wages off the books with Casemiro and Sancho, so I don't think there's a problem financially that they can certainly borrow money if they want to, and there's going to be exits in this transfer window as well. So I think it sounds like an excuse not to pay if that's what we see as the news. But will Man United pay this sort of amount? Manchester United were prepared to pay, I think 75 plus 10 is rumoured to be the price they were prepared to pay for Matheus Fernandes. So I'd say there's definitely money there. Manchester United said they had the money to get some menu in January. That was 65 plus 5, wasn't it? Is that about 70 million pounds? So I think the money's clearly there. I think that if they're suddenly saying that Man United can't afford to spend it, I know it might be coming from the Athletic, but anything coming out of Manchester United, they're not saying too much. It would be a bit weird for Man United to say this sort of thing and push these stories out there. I mean, they say it every single year, and we see the same sort of situation, don't we? I think last year Man United said they might have to sell before they buy. They loaned out a couple of players and they bought Cunha, Mbeumo, and Sesko. So I would take that with a pinch of salt as well. But no, if Man United are going to spend big this summer, then would Alex Scott be? It would be surprising, wouldn't it? Because I think most of us were expecting a different player in terms of how much they're going to spend big on. But I think as soon as they got Tillemans and they got Santos, then I mean, if Santos cost £50 million based on his experience, then I can see where Alex Scott's going to be a bit more. 85 sounds a bit steep, and I don't think he's going to go for 85. If he was refusing to sign a contract, I think there's negotiation room here. But again, it feels again like a lot of deals. It feels a bit too expensive, doesn't it? So we'll have to see. I mean, I did say this about a few deals, and then Spurs came in and spent that sort of money. So maybe we're going to find out. I mean, at the moment, I think the difference between this and some deals we had last season someone like Delap chose Chelsea. I'm not sure if Alex Scott is going to choose Chelsea or choose the highest situation. I'm not sure. We'll have to see regarding this one. I think Scott's a better option than Kone, but again, that's going to be everyone's going to have a different view regarding this one. Afternoon to you, Mark. Good to see you. Um, Everything Carpi saying you think Scott over Kone any day. I think the difference is going to be if we're going to compare Kone with someone like Scott, then all we can say is that Scott has done it in the Premier League. We don't know if Kone would. Again, we could look at that and say Tillemans has done things in the Premier League. International football is different. Like it's difficult to compare someone playing well in the French national team to players playing for their clubs. It's just football's just different. So it's difficult to compare the two. Yannis saying United do not look to be spending big. We're almost in August. We certainly are almost in August. I mean, I'll be on holiday in a few days' time. I'll probably be doing some shorts, maybe doing a little bit on the TikTok channel as well. There will be some guest hosts that will do an excellent job, I'm sure. And G-Wolf will be doing the watch along on the Friday. And hopefully there'll be a calling show to discuss that match as well. Again, that'll be, I think, might be hosted by G-Wolf as well. But we'll see. There will be content on the channel, but it won't be hosted by myself after a couple of days. So if we're going to go and get Scott, we would have bought him a month ago. I guess with this one, the problem is I don't think Alex Scott would have been available a month ago unless Manchester United went very, very big. If you think about it, Bournemouth are still saying he's not for sale. And Bournemouth are still saying the same thing. Alex Scott, not for sale. We want him to sign a new contract. I think this is going to drag on to the end of the window, isn't it? Unless Bournemouth, I think what's going to have to happen is either Man United go big or Chelsea or Arsenal put a significant offer on the table. And I think you have to do it sooner rather than later because Bournemouth are going to have to replace Alex Scott if he leaves. And this transfer window, every player is quite expensive. I'm guessing, like with Bournemouth, they lose a lot of players most seasons. They probably want to try and keep some players together as well. I'm like saying that there's other options that we could be going for and say, no, there's definitely other options, Al. There's definitely other options. I mean, on this transfer window, I would also say I wouldn't rule out anybody at the moment. Like, I wouldn't rule out deals. So when it looked like Man United were buying Matheus Fernandes and people were talking about that and the Tonali situation as well, in the end, Man United didn't get Tonali, didn't get Fernandes, didn't even get Edison, and we thought that was a done deal. So I would say the fact that Man United are at the table or they were interested in Alex Scott doesn't mean they're going to sign him. It might well be that they go for a third cheaper option as well. So, but I think a few people are expecting Man United that, considering we did two quite cheap deals for midfielders, I think a lot of people are thinking, are we going to spend big on a third one? They feel like we should do that. I mean, I'm not saying we should do, But if you're looking at going for cheaper options, I think Sander Berg might be considered by United. And again, that's probably going to be a bit divisive. I don't know how much it's going to cost. I think it's like an okay-ish option, but I couldn't really lie. If Man United signed Sander Berg and that was our midfield, I would be a bit disappointed overall. I mean, individually, there's nothing wrong with those players, but it doesn't feel like the sort of window that's closing the gap. Just my opinion on that one. Now, I did see a story this morning saying Juventus and Xerxes. Hopefully, I'll send you something, Bilal. I might. What I might do is I might not say where I'm going, and I might do like a short from where I'm going, where I've gone to, and then see if you can recognise where it is. There is a couple of landmarks that you would recognise, but we'll see. So Manchester United want to sign a third midfielder this summer. This is breaking news from Ryan, reported from Sky Sports. It says Carlos Baleba among the players being monitored. Although what the hell are we monitoring? Like we've literally been linked to him for a whole year. If we don't know what Baleba's about, then it's a bit ridiculous. I mean, I think most people watching have probably watched Baleba a lot this season with the idea that Man United might be moving for him in the summer. So the fact there's been all this media over a year ago now, then what the hell are they monitoring? Unless they're just monitoring whether someone else is going to buy him. So if Man United want to buy Belieber, like what are we waiting for? That make an offer. If Brighton want too much money, just move on. If you think Alex Scott's worth a certain amount, what are we waiting for as well? Just make an offer. Put Bournemouth under a bit of pressure. If Alex Scott wants to push for an exit, then Bournemouth have to look at it. If I was Alex Scott and I want to leave, and the club comes in for you, just agree terms with them, say you want to leave, and Bournemouth are not going to want to miss out on a significant transfer fee. They're not going to. No, Alex Scott could easily wait out a year, play European football with Bournemouth, and then move for half the price next season. I mean, for Man United, I think urgency is a thing as well. That we can't really hold out for a year for Alex Scott, the same way that we can't buy Buardi and then go back. You go on loan for a year. We can't do these sort of deals. We have to get the players in. We just don't have any options. So I think it's different for different clubs, isn't it? We have seen Chelsea do those sort of deals, but we can't do those sort of deals. And welcome, Elizabeth, in the chat. Welcome, Rob, Alls United. Good to see you guys. Yes, Saar was talked about last night actually by Jules and G Wolf. I can't remember the exact take home they were talking about regarding that one. But no, there's a lot of players that have been linked to Man United at the moment. I think I would say it probably midfield feels like there's going to be like the next possible movement. Um, Bournemouth want £80 million. There won't be a discount, says Almac. What happens though? Like what happens if Manchester United, say Chelsea, Arsenal, three clubs interested, three clubs with decent money. Okay, I know Man United seem to be being cheap, but what happens if Alex Scott just flatly refuses to sign a contract? Like, but at the moment, he's probably worth. If Mathis Flanders is worth 85, you got to say he's in the same sort of price point as that. How much is Alex Scott worth if he's got 1 year left on his contract? If he just stays at the club, doesn't sign a new contract, then okay, he's going to take a bit of a hit in salary because I think Bournemouth would definitely offer him a pay rise, but the rewards could be massive. Like if Man United or any other club can get Alex Scott and he's got 1 year left in his contract, he can pocket a lot of money. So I think that Bournemouth have to be careful regarding this one as well. Grace says some channels are trying to gaslight fans into thinking United are moving like a big club, like they are a big club. Well, they are a big club. At the moment, though, they're not really moving like a big club. Like if you consider which are the big clubs in the world at the moment, you'd say the clubs that have been successful are moving like big clubs. You'd say they're trying to do deals, they're trying to get things done. And at the moment, Man United seem to be very lethargic in the transfer window. And at the moment, there's no indication that United are going to spend big. We're just going to have to see what happens with this one. But yeah, I just don't really want to comment too much on other channels, but other channels can put out what they want to say. And to be honest, like Grace, I would say Manchester United, the deal for Tielemans, there's nothing wrong with that deal. It's not a lot of money. The Santos deal, I'm quite enthusiastic about the Santos deal actually. But the problem is, like these feel a bit like Santos is one where you think, okay, beneficial in the future, And the same way as the young signing we got from Spurs yesterday, good signing for the future, not a lot of money. The question I've got, Grace, might be the same question you've got is where are the players that are going to suddenly transform Manchester United from a third place team to pushing to finish second or first in the league? Where are the players that you're going to be looking at stepping up in the Champions League? Because we've already got some good players like Cunha and Buemo, Sesko, Bruno Fernandes. These are already good players, but where are the quality players that are going to be of that sort of level, but in midfield? So when you look at Cunha and Buemo, they were both top five in the Premier League in goal scoring when we signed them. And if you looked at midfielders, and we picked the top sort of four or five midfielders, I don't think Tielemans and Santos were in the top 5 or 10 midfielders last season. So the question is like, why are we compromising on midfield? Because that's what it feels like at the moment. I mean, I know we need some squad depth, but the first team needs to be better. That's what I would say. So let's have a look. Yeah, I know the World Cup's just finished. I'm just trying to grab some comments. Big up to you, Niche. I was trying to find your comment, but if you can repost it, the comments are just disappearing a little bit. I think regarding Santos, he's just signed for Man United. He's played one pre-season. I would probably hold off judgment at the moment. Like I think Santos is a bit what's the word? I think with Santos, for me, there's no point myself commenting on how Santos is going to be or what he's going to do at Manchester United. He's barely played, barely kicked the balls yet. So Enzo, if Enzo wants to leave, yeah, fair enough. If Enzo wants to leave, then Chelsea might have some money in this one. Um, but yeah, we'll have to see what happens with that one. I think with some of the someone actually mentioned a comment early on, and they said, which academy players do I see stepping up into the first team? I think there's a lot of talk about Thwaites, and I think regarding this one, there's a lot of talk about Thwaites. There's a lot of talk about JJ. People are talking about Lacey. There's a few players on the periphery of the first team. So I think there's going to be, I think players are going to get their opportunities. I don't think they're going to be used instead of signings. So I can see why people are looking at the academy players and thinking the academy players will get opportunities. But again, playing a preseason match against backup players for Wrexham, which was second half was, I think the Premier League when the Premier League starts, it's going to be difficult for academy players to get a lot of minutes based on the work based on the demand of stepping up to the Premier League. I do think Carrick will give some opportunities, but I'd imagine at the start of the season he'd be looking to try and hit the ground running. So I don't think we'd see a lot of opportunities initially, but when cups start, I think we will see that as well. Do people ever think Santos wanted to leave? Apparently, I thought he put in a transfer request, so I think he pretty much engineered the leave, didn't he? So yeah, saying we paid Mason Mount 1 year on his contract, say £60 million. We did, but to be honest, that was before Ineos took charge of transfers. So I don't think that's going to happen next time. If you look at, say, contracts expiring, look at the situation with Mark Gay. He went for quite low money as well. But I do think that it does weaken the negotiation point as well. So again, supply and demand. If Alex Scott is wanted by multiple clubs, maybe that pushes the price up. But for Alex Scott, he might be well advised to actually choose a club, say where he wants to go, and then effectively negotiate a better deal for himself when he moves as well. So if Bournemouth want to get £80 million for Scott, but Scott can engineer it so he leaves the club, the transfer fee's lower, he can pocket the difference, can't he? So there's ways of the player making money and the club buying him, saving money. We'll have to see what happens regarding this one. Yeah, Alex Scott is a lot better option than those players. I mean, Van Hecker was a bit expensive, but I don't know. I mean, some transfers, this transfer window seems to be a little bit crazy. On this one. Beat you, Corinne, you're saying the youth group can only offer you the Makeda role, which is being a moments player for now. I think you give some opportunity, but it's not going to be significant, is it? Like, we're not going to see academy players starting Premier League games that often unless there's suddenly a lot of injuries, etc. Those. So I think what you're going to see is Manchester United are effectively going to maybe you give minutes to academy players depending on what happens. It's unlikely, but if Man United are winning games comfortably, maybe someone gets minutes, but it's going to be very limited at the moment. I think Cohen's right that if you look at academy players coming through to the first team, the first opportunity might just be a few minutes off the bench, just a few minutes. And Makeda got thrown on, scored that goal, but he started games shortly after and was nowhere near as effective. So I think that this one, like, don't pin your hopes on academy players, but just hope that academy players do gradually get introduced. So you might be seeing a little bit more like Garnacho when he got, say, 10, 15, 20 minutes for quite a few matches, then gradually. But again, Champions League, I think is an opportunity to give some opportunities, but again, I think it's opportunities from the bench. So when I'm saying I think academy players get an opportunity, I think they're getting like 5, 10, 15 minutes. They're not getting too much out of that as well. Yeah, with Thompson, I'm not going to say anything about Thompson because I don't think Thompson's going to be a feature for a little while. He's going to be it's used at some point. Mr. B says you're thinking Arsenal's the destination. If they come in with a massive offer, he'll go there. And saying, well, I don't think people can say too much about Arteta. He won the Premier League now, got to the Champions League final, and he might be. He might be. It might be that if Man United are not prepared to spend the money, we saw before, didn't we? Spurs were prepared to spend the money. The question is going to be Matheus Fernandes. Clearly, he just went with where the cash was. Would Alex Scott be a bit more selective than Matheus Fernandes? Would he like be making a different decision as well? And it depends on the factors, doesn't it? So as we discussed at the start of the stream, the reasons for Alex Scott choosing I know to stay at Bournemouth for a bit longer, to sign with Arsenal or Chelsea or Manchester United. There's going to be footballing reasons. There's going to be financial reasons. There's going to be family friend reasons as well. So it might not be quite as obvious as people think. So it's still a bit of a guess for a lot of people. I mean, Man United do keep like saying they've got no money, but on the same lines, they do spend quite a lot of money usually as well. Grace is saying you'd rather use the academy midfielders rather than a third midfielder, considering Mount isn't going anywhere. Then I guess that you got Mason Mount, Tielemans, Santos, Kobe Mainu in that instance. Then, so if Mount gets loaned out, now I can see your point. It would be disappointing though if our transfer window for midfield was Tielemans and Santos. I think that you got like most people got to say that's disappointing, isn't it? That's got to be disappointing considering Agarty's out for the season, Casemiro's gone, so effectively it's two in, two out. And are we going to be relying on Toby Collier to like play significant games? Like Mason Mount, I don't know. This doesn't sound good. I'll say that. Like, what are we actually saving money for? At some point, you've got to be spending the money on something. I mean, Camavinga's actually, we haven't mentioned Camavinga for a little bit. I still think any Real Madrid player, they don't want to leave. I get a bit suspicious regarding this one as well. Yeah, actually, a few people, we don't really talk about Arsenal too much, but yeah, they got some issues as well. I think maybe the Arsenal issue could be that they're going to be missing. Let's sing who's it? That's Saliba. Is it Saliba? It's out for 6 months, 5, 6 months. That is a big loss to Arsenal, like a big loss. So let's go back into the comments. So if Scott has rejected a contract twice, what are the Cherries waiting for? A third refusal. So it does make you think that I don't know what Bournemouth are thinking. Obviously, you can negotiate contracts at different times to the transfer window, but yeah, I think with this one, Bournemouth are just holding out, hoping that it will. Maybe they're going to change the terms. That I don't know how much they're offering, but it was rumored that when Bournemouth offered or got a contract extension for Semenyo got a big pay rise. So I think what's interesting about this is that it looks like Alex Scott wants to leave. And if he's not going to sign a new contract, and we can only assume that it's going to be a lucrative contract, which might be they're not far off what he might get if he did move, then maybe the motivations for Alex Scott are not simply financial. Because if he wants the money, it's there on the table, isn't it? He can go for get a release clause and leave in a year's time. But there seems to be a little bit of urgency on his part. So it seems a bit like he's decided where he wants to go. Like if you want to leave a club and you're refusing the contract, then would you do that if you have no idea where you're going to want to go? So maybe his head's been turned a little bit regarding that one as well. Yes, I tried to put the comment from Woods Better saying Camavinga over 6 foot. I actually don't know how tall Alex Scott is, but it's something that Man United might be looking at, trying to get a bit more height in midfield. But the question is going to be, will Man United spend the amount of money required to get this as well? Welcome United, so I died to the chat. It said Arsenal plan to bid again for Bruno Guimaraes, as reported this morning, and say although Newcastle deny direct formal talks to date, say Arsenal are accelerating their interest, and so you don't think Scott goes to Arsenal for that reason. If you remember on the channel, I spoke to a Newcastle content creator, Toon Tactics TV, Philip from Toon Tactics TV, came on the channel, and we did discuss things last year as well regarding the team. But we were talking about transfers. At the time, we were talking about Bruno Guimaraes and Tonali. And he was saying that, in his opinion, he sees like I'm trying to think which way around it was. I think he was looking at either Alex Scott. I think he's with Alex Scott and Matheus Fernandes. He said he thought there were younger versions of Bruno Guimaraes and Tonali. And I think he was comparing Alex Scott to Bruno Guimaraes and saying Alex Scott might be someone that can control games, that can be giving you maybe setting the tempo, that sort of thing. So I think in terms of this one, I think Alex Scott, when we're talking about him, was the player that Philip would like for Newcastle to sign if Newcastle signed Bruno Guimaraes. At the time, we did think Bruno Guimaraes would never get sold. But as time's moved on, it does look a bit like I do get the feeling that Arsenal, like Bruno Guimaraes, is their main target. And Bruno Guimaraes was pushing to leave as well. So I think that deal gets done. I think the amount of money that Newcastle wanted was 60 million and Arsenal wanted to pay about 50 million. It's not that far off. So I think there'll be some sort of deal they can get done for this one. But Bruno Guimaraes would be a good player for Arsenal to bring in. You got experience, you got a player that's hungry to win, and that's what you need. They've just won the Premier League. They're going to have to step it up again next season. I think sometimes it's easier to win it once than win it back to back. We know that under Arsene Wenger, they won the Premier League title, but they never defended it. And maybe having someone like Bruno Guimaraes come in will give you that bit of hunger because you won't have that, won't have won that. So that for me would be a very good signing for Arsenal. I think Alex Scott would be a good signing, but for Man United, I think Alex Scott makes a bit more sense. And maybe for Arsenal, I think in the next season, it's a key year for Arsenal. I think you need to get players that want to be winners, and I think Bruno G would be the best option for them. So again, different demands for different situations, but we'll see, won't we? We'll see what happens. Then if Bruno Guimaraes goes, then I don't think they're going to be signing anybody else either. Don't forget to click the like as well. 20 likes so far. So if Arsenal bid enough, Bruno G go, yeah, he wants out at Newcastle. Does that affect Lewis Hall and a potential deal for him? I'm not sure it does. I think Lewis Hall's a different independent deal as well, so I don't worry too much about that one. And United Die says Manchester United won't move for two other midfield targets due to the costs involved. So instead, if we're looking at a sub 40 million pound deal, there's not loads of those around, is there? So it felt like I thought we'd done a sort of sub 40 million pound deal as well. So I don't know. I don't know. I would be a bit disappointed if Santos ended up being Manchester United's most expensive midfield signing. I would say it's going to be a bit underwhelming, isn't it? It's like it's giving Michael Carrick a lot of pressure to get the best possible performances out of the squad he's got, isn't it? To try and because it does feel like other teams. If you look at other teams around Man United, like the teams that might be trying to get back into the Champions League, Spurs, Chelsea, those teams are spending big. So I think Man United are going to have to. We don't have to necessarily match them, but we have to match the ambition. Like we can't pay a lot of money on players, go from 15th back up to third, and then take our foot off the gas. We need to try and push forward and try and make sure we get another good transfer window. Sure. But I can see why people are negative because the longer the transfer window goes, I think more people are going to be a bit annoying, a bit annoyed by what's happening. Almack's saying Bertie should be fired. He should have wrapped up the Bawadi deal instead of a 29-year-old Bruno G. He's got different views, isn't he? He went for Gyökeres instead of Benjamin Sesko. So maybe Bertie wants to buy older players, like possibly, I don't know. So when you saw the quote of 150 for three signings, you thought it was a joke and laughed it off, but it's happening. If you think about it, we spent 80 or 85 million. We spent 50, yeah, 85 million pounds. So we got another 65 million to spend. So 65 million. Can you get Alex Scott for 65 million? So I don't think you can get 65. I don't think you can get Alex Scott for that sort of price. You could maybe, if Man United had made an offer as soon as the transfer window opened, 65. I don't know. Considering how much money Matheus Fernandes went for, I don't think he would have gone for 65 either. And answer to your question, Stephanie, no idea what his wife's called actually. So I don't know. Um, so I did see something this morning, and I don't know if this is just like people getting angry about things without there being any sort of journalist talking about it. But there was because Euro played right back in the pre-season match. The thing is, Euro played right back because Mazraoui and Dallo were both on international duty. So I think that was the reason why it happened. I don't think it's going to happen. Yeah, when Dallo and Mazraoui come back, they're going to be the right backs, aren't they? So I think people got angry without any sort of evidence, and I don't think Man United consider Yora as a right back, but yeah, I don't know. Um, so let's go to like this other story I saw, which is probably going to be one that annoys Man United fans more than anything. And so this is coming from Chris Wheeler, Daily Mail. The Daily Mail does write a lot of nonsense. Let me just put that out there as well. They're often the newspaper that does do hit pieces on Kobe Mainoo, for example, in the World Cup, saying he had a bad attitude, etc., etc. So I would just take like, okay, this is not the Northeast journalist right for the Daily Mail. This is Chris Wheeler. So I'm not saying it's going to be nonsense, but the Daily Mail doesn't have a great success rate for accuracy, put it that way. But they're saying that Man United need to offload players before they spend, despite only spending 85 on Andre Santos and Yuri Tillemans, and they have got money in for, say, Rasmus Højlund leaving the club. So despite a net spend of like 40, 45 million, journalists are saying Man United might need to spend. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to have any implication on the window. If it does, then if this is just imagine this is fact, then at the moment, who's close to an exit from Man United for actual money? Then we've got, say, Xerxes, and we see interest from Juventus. But yeah, how much is Xerxes going to bring in? He's not going to bring in like 85 million, is he? He's going to be lucky to bring in half of that amount of money. So if Man United are waiting for sales, at the moment, Rashford doesn't look to be close to an exit. Xerxes doesn't look to be close to an exit. Agate's injured. And I think Anana got loaned, didn't he? Bindia is worth about £5, so that's not going to do too much. So I don't know where this extra money is going to come in from sales. So it does seem to be a bit ridiculous as well. So it looks like we won't be getting. I think there's still a long way to go. But the thing is, in terms of getting six players in, if you think about it, Manchester United have signed the left winger from Spurs, not exciting, but he is a player. The goalkeeper from Leeds, again, not exciting, but a football player. And then they've got Tielemans and they've got Santos. So Manchester United at the moment have signed six players. But I think when we said six players, I say we signed four players. But when we thought we are going to sign six players, I think Man United are thinking, like we're thinking first team players, aren't we? So the backup goalkeeper doesn't really count. I don't think a player for the academy really counts. So at the moment, in my mind, if we need to get, say, 5 to 6 serious signings done, I think we've done two at the moment. So but Tillemans is going to be, at the moment, you'd imagine he's going to be a first team player. So no, it seems ridiculous, doesn't it? If this is like, yeah, this, I would say this is a Xerxes valuation right there, 35 million. as well. And yeah, I don't think there's going to be. Yeah, when I'm talking about signings, when someone says how many signings do we need, then I count first team players or players that you think are going to be definitely on the bench and will come off in a lot of games. So if we're going to get someone in the academy that we have no idea, I can't think we can count them as a signing really. If we're considering the impact on the club, are we planning on playing Tielemans with Mainu? Where are the legs and defence? I think that's why when there was a story saying Man United are going to sign a third midfielder, and I can't remember, it might have been David Ornstein that said it, and David Ornstein said Manchester United, they want legs, they want someone that can run, etc. That was kind of what the message that was put out for a third midfielder. So we looked at Kone and went, okay, Kone can run. Look at Camavinga, look at Alex Scott. I don't think people were looking at Sander Berg. Like that's not legs either. I mean, Sander Berg is. I can see why people like him, but for me, no, he's not like an Anderson style player, is he? So it does seem that for me the best option available at the moment that we haven't talked about is Boadi. Like if you want someone that can run, someone that's going to give you a bit more energy and a bit more legs in midfield, then I mean that would be the player for me. But in terms of at the moment, I think maybe Alex Scott is the best linked player that we've seen at the moment as well. Yeah, Berber, if Man United say that we got a left wing player and the player we just signed from Spurs, that's probably not going to cut it. The thing is that Man United have said that if you look at the players we're signing, then yeah, maybe we're going to see Thompson get more games than we're expecting. This is they're kind of classifying it as a similar sort of signing to Aiden Heaven last season, where Aiden Heaven joined, and most people were like, okay, why are we signing him? How's it going to impact our season? And it was fast tracked a little bit. Okay, Lissandro Martinez got injured, but he did play more games than people were expecting eventually. So, it could be that. Um, so maybe it's not panic time yet. Corinne says we have more than enough time. The question is like, you say we have more than enough time, but I think people get frustrated because Man United's track record is a little bit slow on doing deals. Sally is saying we need to get our players in now so they get situated in pre-season and say, let's use Letitia, which is that this is the family connection he's got in the women's team to unsettle him. I think with this one, where people were mentioning on the channel, I think Neil was mentioning this about 2 months ago. So I think Man United fans are well aware of his stepsister playing for the Manchester United women's team. And is that going to be a factor? I have no idea either. Mr. Deadpool, welcome to the chat, saying United won't pay £80 million for Scott. I don't think Man United will pay £80 million either. So the only reason the only way Man United get Scott for me is going to be if Scott flatly refuses to sign any sort of contract deal, probably has to push like hand in a transfer request, has to probably come out and say I only want Manchester United, and somehow we have to do some sort of deal. I don't know. Is there any player we can loan or we can sell to Bournemouth as part of the deal? I'm pretty sure Bournemouth won't want Xerxes. I mean, I'm trying to think about would Toby Collier be any sort of? I don't know. I'm kind of struggling to see how Man United do this deal as well. That it feels like we're doing extra cheap deals. I don't believe we can't afford him, but I do believe that we don't want to spend that sort of money. So unfortunately, it seems to be a bit negative. So what I might do is we'll go through the comments, and if you want to vote in the poll, if you just tuned in, please vote in the poll. It'd be good to get people's opinions regarding, do you think that he's going to go to Arsenal? I mean, Bruno Guimaraes feels like the Arsenal deal. Are Chelsea going to spend big? I mean, a lot of players around London clubs do get linked to Chelsea, and I can see reasons why he might go to Chelsea as well. I just think that if you're going to sign a contract at Chelsea, it just seems weird timing after their worst ever season. Like, there's no guarantee they can get back into the Premier League. But I'll give you like a minute, then we'll close it so we can look at it. At the moment, it looks like Bournemouth are winning the poll, which is interesting as well. But I'll give you a little bit of time, and then So Mr. Deadpool, I don't think Mr. Deadpool does support Wrexham. Just a guess. I mean, I think Mr. Deadpool, I've seen that profile a lot longer than we since we played Wrexham. So Scott's profile is redundant in our final midfielder. He generally creates positional overlap with Mainu and Tielemans without solving the physical defensive deficit. And Wiz better saying we do not need him. Who do you think we need? Which is a better like I know I'm kind of guessing you might say Camavinga, which does make me think Real Madrid players they love a Man United link and a new contract. So I don't think I don't want to even talk about Camavinga unless Camavinga comes out and like unless he phones me directly and says, "Rich, I've got some breaking news. I'm going to leave Real Madrid. I really want to come to Man United." Then that's the only reason I can see myself doing a stream, and that's unlikely to happen. Camavinga or Belieber? Okay, I think Belieber is possible, but again, Belieber's at Brighton, and Brighton will just not cooperate. I think Sangari might be the better option than. Cause I think Sangari is the only person that's on the list where most people go, right, he could be doing what we need, but also is at a price where Man United would be prepared to spend. Then that's for me, that could be maybe one of the better options as well. Big up to you, Kenny and Brill. Good to see you guys in the chat. Now, if Believer happens, then I'd be interested to know what people think. That would be a strange one. So let's close the poll. You got a couple of seconds, and let's see what people think. So again, we kind of talked through the situation, what could happen. Very split vote. So thanks everybody for voting. Where does Alex Scott play next season? Bournemouth won with 33%, so a third of people think that. Just over a quarter going Manchester United, 22% for Arsenal, 19% for Chelsea. Pretty split vote then, to be honest. Like, so I think most people, I suppose with this one, no one really knows where he's going to go. If I was going to guess, I don't know. At this point in time, I might go with Bournemouth because I think Man United would not spend enough. Arsenal are going to go for Bruno Guimaraes. I don't think Chelsea is an option that I don't think Chelsea is an option that Alex Scott is going to be great. Let's move to Chelsea. I mean, obviously it's a bit of guesswork on my part, but I'm going to agree with the majority of people and say I think it's not going to happen. It's not going to go to Chelsea, but yeah, we'll see. Wharton, there was a Wharton story recently. I can't remember where it was now that who he's linked to, but he's probably also too expensive. It does seem to be at the moment that the transfer market is anybody else surprised that every time a player's going for say 70 to 80 million pounds, Man United seem to be not in the conversation. Like when did we become a club that can't afford to compete in the transfer market? That we used to criticize the club for doing bad deals, spending too much money on Sancho, too much money on Anthony, and no one's saying we should do these bad deals and pay crazy money. But why we're not doing any deals? Like that's a strange one. I don't believe that we can seriously, as a football club, look around the transfer window and not realise every player is expensive, and also think that there's no players that we can actually afford. That does not make any sense. That if that's the reality, then there's big problems. That you can't have a turnover like Man United's, make all that profit, and then say, "Oh, we can't afford to buy players." That the money goes somewhere, and if there's a problem with the debt, maybe they need to sell to owners that are proper owners as well. Now, at the moment, it's going to make it difficult for Carrick. Then signing players like the left winger from Spurs, Santos Tillemans. Now, Santos and Tillemans instead of Ugarte and Casemiro. I don't know. It's asking a lot, isn't it, to play effectively 50% more games, maybe. And yeah, I think Carrick's gonna is going to be under pressure if this is the state of the window. I mean, I do agree. There's time to go. The problem is Man United. What are we doing here? Like we got to the 21st of July, and we talked about patience like when was it? When the transfer window opened before the World Cup started, and now we're looking at a situation where yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Kenny Fan TV saying that Michael Carrick's going to be self 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 sabotaged. I don't think Michael Carrick's going to sabotage it himself. Ineos plan to back Carrick with lowball signings to get sacked. I mean, it's stupid, isn't it? Because if Man United don't back him properly, and if for some reason Man United don't finish in Champions League positions, all that's going to happen is we're just going to then fall out of the Champions League again. And we keep seeing the story time and time again where Manchester United, we get back into the Champions League, we don't back our manager properly, we drop out of the Champions League football, and then it hits our financial situation as well. So it's really stupid. It's really stupid. Um, I don't think we can sack Carrick and then hire him again and get a big bounce. Then Brill. I think Michael Carrick's going to have a difficult job next season with these sort of transfers. That's the problem that we've got. And at the moment, I don't know how like is it time to panic or are we getting a bit what's the word too much? What do I think of Newcastle United changing their badge against their fans' desires? I don't know. I didn't. Is that something that's happened recently, Gregory? I mean, you can see that football badges they change quite regularly over time, little tweaks here. I think the thing that annoys people a lot is when they remove football club out of the badge and then they start to just see it like some sort of brand. But I think all it shows, Gregory, is I think this is an indication that the owners of clubs do not give a shit about the fans. So Newcastle United fans, they got a good fan base, a lot of supporters. Clearly, the owners do not give a shit about the fans, and I think that goes to the same for pretty much most owners in the Premier League. Like, they can say what they like, but it's generally become more of a business now, and the football side of it seems to be second nature. Like, do any do any owners now, apart from the Man City owners that clearly want to win, it looks like Arsenal and Liverpool owners certainly have spent a bit more in the last couple of years and are more determined about winning. But there's a few owners around the league that if you look at Newcastle, no, so not Newcastle. If you look at Spurs, you look at Chelsea. Are they spending because they want to win trophies, or are they just worried about missing out on the Champions League money? And I think that as soon as a club misses out on Champions League money, whether it's Manchester United or it's going to be say Spurs, Chelsea, Liverpool, any of the clubs that can afford to do it are going to buy their way back in. Like Newcastle would if they could, but they're not going to be able to do that. So I think it's an indicative that unfortunately a lot of clubs are about the money rather than actually the winning trophies. So, so you're in panic mode. And Wizard Better saying you got a really good feeling we get Lewis Hall now that Tynan Thompson has arrived and we have the money to do it as a result. If Manchester United get Lewis Hall, I think that would be one step in changing people's minds a little bit about the transfer window because that would be, we got Dallo and Mazraoui on one side. If we have Lewis Hall, Luke Shaw there, I think we'd feel a lot happier over the season because I think most of us know that like Luke Shaw's only going to play a certain amount of games. He's not going to play 50 games. He's probably not going to play like 45, 40, 45 games. So that would maybe give us a bit more confidence that we've got options there. I think the midfield at the moment still feels like it's nowhere near finished. And the attacking options, I think for me, the key attacking option should be a striker. That's the main thing we should be looking at trying to get. So if we've got Lewis Hall and a striker and another midfielder signed, I think suddenly the transfer window looks very, very different, doesn't it? Um, Good question from Brill saying what's going on with the Kone deal. So the Kone deal, as far as I know, he's available for about 45 to 50 million pounds. But apparently, I can't remember the source I saw this morning, but apparently Manchester United do not want to spend that amount of money. They don't think Kone is worth 45 to 50 million pounds. So, I mean, 45 to 50 million pounds, they thought Santos was worth it. They don't think they don't think that's the case as well. What I'll do, I'll put a quick panic poll in there, Stephanie, just for you. And I don't think Cake's around today, but I'll put that in there and say, I'll just put, is it panic time yet? And then you can vote yes or no. I will finish the stream in a few minutes, so you've got to vote very quickly. And if anyone's got any final questions you want to get in on anything, please go for that. Is it panic time yet? Yes or no? So there you go, Stephanie. Just a little snapshot, 21st of July. I did say we'd do it every once in a while just to see what people are thinking. I mean, I'm kind of looking forward to going on a holiday in a few days, so I'm not panicked. I mean, I'll probably, to be honest, if you remember last season, I think I was trying to report in the transfer window like day in, day out, night and day for Manchester United on Red Devil United. And then I think I went out for about 2 hours. And when I came back, Sesko was done. So if I go on holiday, maybe these deals are going to suddenly happen, and I'll just do some shorts and some TikTok content for you guys. Maybe that's what's going to happen. So hopefully that's going to happen. Let's say Coney needs a too many or a Rabio to function, and say we need a six, not an eight. I mean, I don't want to see Rabio close to my team either. So no, I guess for this one with Kone, I think Kone looked okay for France, didn't he? I don't mind Man United not getting him. To be honest, that's absolutely fine as well. Big up to you, MUFC debate. Good to see, great. Say August 15th is Panic Stations. It'll be 2 months of the window open and a week to the Premier League kickoff. So that's another. That's not as far away as you think, Cody. That's not as far away you think. So maybe you could go on to like Amber Alert for panic. I mean, not full panic yet. Just be aware that panic might be something you might need to consider in the near future. United Die says, I'm fully panic mode after hearing that. Which bit was it? After which bit has made you panicky? We got on that one. Gregory says, after Luke Shaw stayed healthy all last season, it's unlikely to be repeated this season. So what happens if Shaw breaks down as early as September? No, I think with this one, like Gregory, like even if Man United like just had Luke Shaw and Luke Shaw didn't get injured, there's no way he's going to play that many games anyway. So it's a no-brainer. But if Man United don't get a left back, I think we're all going to be very surprised because Luke Shaw will have an injury at some point as well. Say Shea Charles surprise signing 25 million. Championship proven is almost it's not really, is it? I mean, when you're looking at the best players in the Premier League last season, you look at Haaland, how many goals he got. You look at who are the best performing players? You look at Declan Rice's performances. You look at Bruno Fernandes, all his assists, Kobe Mainu, and the best Championship player was, I believe, it was who's the guy we keep talking about? I've forgotten his name now, but he won Championship Player of the Year, didn't he? My mind seems to have blanked out since he signed for Everton. I've forgotten his name, but I think now if you look at the best players in the Championship, they're nowhere near the level of the best players in the Premier League. So if we got him, I would be thinking, what the hell are we doing here? Like Shea Charles is worth about 20 million, isn't he? Like what we doing to Carrick? Like what we doing? We should get Hayden Hackney, and if we're going to go cheap, we should have got Hayden Hackney. He cost 16 million, and he's played for Carrick, and he was the player of the season for that league. No, no thanks. Yeah, just stick on Amber. So let me go to the poll. So please vote in the poll. At the moment, it's 63% are saying no. So you got another minute. Stephanie, quick answer. Hopefully, the Premier League adopt the new rules that FIFA were using in the World Cup, and hopefully that sort of corner kick nonsense will not be a factor at all. That's what I'm hoping as well. I'm hoping yeah. I'm not panicking either. I'm kind of thinking about what I'm going to pack in the next couple of days, so no panic from me. Um, so is it panic time yet? Yes, say 35%. So yeah, it seems like a reasonable amount of panic in the chat. 35%. Maybe like tomorrow, I'm planning on doing a preview for the Rosenborg game, which again will be covered by G Wolf on the Friday. But I will be doing a preview for that probably tomorrow evening with guests. I'm not sure what's going to happen tonight, whether there will be anything at all. A lot of it depends on news. At the moment, I am going to be probably doing a bit less live content unless there's breaking news, because at the moment I don't have as much time as I used to have. So I will try and do regular Man United content, but it might be a little bit less. So, so yeah. So 63%, 65% of people say don't panic. So Stephanie, officially, according to the channel, it's been decreed that there is no panic at the moment. There will be panic when we get to at least, I think, at least over 50%, maybe 60% before we panic. So go about your daily business. No panic. It's all, yeah, don't worry about the panic. There is no panic. Bigger Ian, I'm just about to finish, mate, but says, hope we get Scott. That would be something. I'm not impressed with the transfer so far. Annoyed we haven't gone for Wharton. Missed out on Anderson, so Scott would bring a little bit of joy to you. So I don't know. I can't really lie to you, Ian, and say that I think we're going to get Alex Scott because I don't think we're going to be. I don't think we're going to spend £80 million. So a lot of it depends on Alex Scott's determination to leave Bournemouth and to pretty much just link himself to Man United. So I think a lot needs to happen for this deal to be a Manchester United signing. And at the moment, the transfer window is not conducive to getting cheap deals, is it? So if Man United are not prepared to spend at least, I think it's like 75 plus, that is not going to go cheaper than that, then if we don't put up Matheus Fernandes money, it might be very difficult. Like very difficult. To be honest, I don't panic about anything anyway. I'm not someone that panics. So it's either I'm calm under pressure or I just don't appreciate the gravity of the situation, but I don't panic in general. So, big up to everybody. Thank you for watching. Hopefully, there's something live this evening. If not, there will be live streams tomorrow. Looking forward to the next preseason match. Hopefully, we get a bit more of an idea of like, I'm not sure when what players are going to come back from the World Cup, but potentially we could see that happening over the next couple of weeks as well. But if you're new to the channel, please don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell notification, share as well. It's really appreciated. And we'll also I'll look out for there is a link in the comments for the channel socials, the TikTok account, and I will be I think there's the Instagram account there, which I don't use as much, but the TikTok account will be a bit more active when I'm on holiday. I will do a few TikToks and I will do a bit more short form content in the near future. So thank you for supporting the channel. It's appreciated massively, and we will see you guys in the next one.